So this is Jotform link. It's a little bit of a kind of who's here, what you know about certain types of tools, and maybe some tools themselves, depending on how you answer the questions in there. And we'll go over this. You're going to have to wait, but we'll go over kind of who's here, and what everyone's kind of baseline knowledge is, in 20 or so minutes. But I want to just have y'all introduce yourselves there, and then we'll look at it together in a bit.
Alrighty. So everyone sees the link in the chat. Okay. And then feel free to, if you want to put your LinkedIn to connect with everyone, just casually, feel free to do that in the chat.
For sure.
Great. Well, take it away, Liz, and I'll keep pasting the link when new people come in.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. I'm Liz. Nice to see you all. So a little bit about me. I do sales process design and automation work. So I help small businesses set up their sales system, and integrate with kind of the various web tools that they may be using and liking, or we find new ones if there are ones they need to replace, or just to fill out kind of what they have in their ecosystem. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share here. Cool. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about automating your sales cycle. And we're going to be working with a kind of specific family of tools. But all of this is kind of broadly applicable. So if you have a CRM system you're already using and liking, the odds are it can do a lot of this. You just have to figure out kind of where that feature exists or how to apply it. So there's specific tools we're going to talk about today, but you don't have to switch if you like the tools you're using. By all means, keep using them. And I'm happy on Friday to try to help if you're trying to figure out where things may exist within your tools, and can't. So here we go. Okay. So what is a CRM? This is a super common question. I actually hate kind of what it stands for because it's confusing, I think, but it's a customer relationship management tool. So all it is your way of keeping track of all of your customer interactions for the first sale, the second sale, the third sale, so on and so forth. So it helps you keep track of all of your sales opportunities. And, if it's designed right and you're using it right, it should ultimately help you win more business. So as you guys saw in the form, potentially there's a ton of CRMs out there. Some of the kind of big ones, common ones, Salesforce, HubSpot, Dubsado, Zoho. And then there's Pipedrive, which is a little bit lesser known. It's a big tool. They have 100,000 plus users, I think, or accounts. But it's not as large as some of the others. But it is the tool that I work with exclusively. So it's kind of saying at the beginning, I'm definitely a specialist in the tools that I know and love. And Pipedrive is one of them. And the reason is it's really customizable. And so it's versatile across industries. It's inexpensive. It can be as cheap as $33 a month. That's per user, but especially for a lot of Hair Hub members, you might only need 1, 2, maybe 3 licenses. So it's a pretty inexpensive tool. And it has really amazing automation capabilities, especially for the price point. So today, if you have a CRM and you like it, great. Think about how you might be able to apply these things to your CRM. But if you don't have a CRM and want to explore one, I definitely recommend Pipedrive, and you'll get to see all the fun features today, or some of them. Okay, and then one other thing about a CRM, I think a lot of people think, well, I don't need one. I only have, a few leads coming in every month, or, I only work with a few customers a year. They're big customers, sort of thing. But it all adds up. So for my business, I only work with 20, 30, maybe if I'm being generous, clients a year. But I still use Pipedrive, and it's still super helpful for me. one of the big reasons is it tells me sales metrics, so I can understand what lead sources perform the best. So I know where to focus my energy for the next year or the next quarter, right? It also tells me where the business is coming from, and also there's a lot of time delays. So maybe someone says, timing's not right now, but the fall, that's a time when I know I have time to dedicate to building this out with you. If I put that on a post-it or my calendar or whatever, I'm going to forget, but I create an activity for the fall in my CRM, and then I send them a note in September, and like, we're back in the conversation. So think about that, even though you may not think you need a CRM today. Okay, so we're going to get more into Pipedrive and some features and setup in a moment. But I want to share a little bit about Zapier. So Zapier and Make, you saw those in the initial survey. So those are both no-code automation tools. Just like I specialize in Pipedrive, I work with Zapier. Make is very similar, just has more of a kind of visual UI. So some people like it a lot better for that reason, but they're very, very similar. So Zapier allows you to connect your web tools. So a lot of tools recommend, or a lot of tools advertise native integrations, things like that. Those are great. Zapier kind of brings those things to the next level. So you get a lot more power and customization of what you can build when you're using a tool like Zapier. So the way it is designed is there are triggers and actions. So a trigger is when this happens in one tool, do that in another tool. That's the action. And that's just a 2-step automation. You can build 20-step automations where you have 19 actions that take place after the trigger. So you can get really fancy with it. And you can also do things within one system. So it might be when this happens in Pipedrive, do that in Pipedrive. So it doesn't always have to be among different tools. It can be within one tool as well. Okay, so one of the things I love to do, and I actually did to Mina at the beginning here, was looking up the funnels tool you were talking about. When I'm looking at kind of tools that clients give to me of like, hey, we use this tool and we like it or don't like it, and we want to keep using it or don't want to keep using it, I'll go to this zapier.com/apps, type in that tool, just to get a feel for what Zapier has automation wise for the tool. It's not the be all end all of like, will it work, will it not work, but it gives a good indication. So I'm going to show a couple of things here. So this is that link. So I'm going to type in here, DocuSign. So contracting tool, this is all advertising. Then we get down to supported triggers and actions. Okay, so triggers are what I can say, like when this happens in DocuSign, and then actions are when this happens in another tool, let's say happens in Pipedrive, I want this action to happen in DocuSign. So you can see, without going into like the details of this, 2 triggers, 1 action. Okay, fine. Not a tons available, but maybe this is all we need, but that's what's there. Now, if I go and search PandaDoc, which is a contracting tool that we may get to see some more of today. We'll see how far we get. And I can go ahead and load more here. So triggers, we have 4 triggers. This one's actually kind of 8 triggers because it's all of the different statuses that a document can have. And then actions, we get all of this. Find functions are great because oftentimes you have to find a contract and then do something to it. So find is always a really great thing. So you can just see, again, it doesn't tell you everything and it doesn't tell you if it can do exactly what you need. But if you're evaluating, 7 different CRMs and you want to use Zapier or some sort of automation layer on top, this can be a quick way to sometimes weed some out. So to prove the point for Pipedrive, I'm not going to divide these out, but you can see loads and loads of triggers and actions. You can find lots of information. You can update lots of pieces of information. You can create lots of different pieces of information. So this is, again, one of the reasons why I love Pipedrive. Okay, so now going to Pipedrive. I have a kind of demo account set up here, and I tried to get it back to kind of what things look like if you were to just sign up brand new. So this is a pipeline, and this is, I believe, what it looks like when you sign up. So you go to Pipedrive, sign up, it'll take you in here, it'll give you prompts on, you know, do you want to learn this, that, all that good stuff. But this is the pipeline you're going to have. So your pipeline has stages for your sales process, and you want these to be defined as like step function changes. So every sales process is different of like, what are the kind of key drop off or potential breakpoints of your funnel, depending on how you sell to your customers. But you should have somewhere between 4 to 8 stages. Any more than that gets hard to manage. Any less than that, you probably don't have kind of enough distinctions, because this should help you kind of stay organized with where people are across your sales cycle. So
what do you mean stages? Can I ask that question?
yes, absolutely, please. And I should have said, come off mute. I'm not looking at chat. Rachel and Tamina are helping with that. So come off mute if you're like, what is happening? Yes, so stages: qualified, contact made, demo scheduled, proposal made, negotiation started. Those are the predefined stages that Pipedrive has just for like every account. I hate that. I wish they had kind of custom pipelines by the industry you select when you're signing up, like they should, but they don't. So this is what it will look like when you sign up, and then you customize it to what you want. So that's what we're going to do now. So this out of the box pipeline, I have 4 different pipelines. We'll toggle through some of these today. But when you sign up, you'll have one. And if I click this edit button, now I have these 5 stages and I can change them. So I'm going to change this to a pretty common sales process, a pretty simple sales process. Similar to kind of my business's sales process. So my first stage is new deal. So like when I get a new sales opportunity, the opportunity just is a new deal. I haven't yet contacted them. I haven't yet seen if they want to have a call, whatever it may be. So new deal. My second stage is intro call. I don't know why. Intro call scheduled. Okay, so for me, I always have a call with my customers to make sure, or potential customers, to make sure we're a good fit, right? That I can do what they need, and that that I'm excited about working with them as well.
Can I ask another quick question? You're
Yeah.
talking about new deal. How do you know you have a new deal? Is it just like an email? Is that what you're saying here? And then the intro schedule call is qualified?
We'll get into that. So yeah,
Okay.
you could create a deal manually when you get like a new contact request, or you might be able to do it via automation, which again, we'll get to in about 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully. So intro call scheduled, intro call complete. So I've had the call. I don't know what I'm going to have to do afterwards, but maybe something. And then proposal sent. That's my process. And then once the proposal's sent, I'm either going to win or lose, and that's done kind of separately. So 4 different stages: new deal, intro call scheduled, intro call complete, proposal sent. There's a ton of features. We're not going to have time to talk about nearly all of them. Probability is one I'll just go quickly on because it's quick to do here. If you assign values to your deal, so let's say every sales opportunity is worth $1,000. If you assign probability by stages, it gives you kind of forecast revenue projections. So let's say when I have a new deal, it's 50-50. I have a pretty good win rate, but it's 50-50. Then as I move down the pipeline, they become more likely to close. So if they schedule a call, it's 60%. after the call, if they're still, the deal is not lost. So like we're both still kind of in that conversation, it's a 70. And I actually only send proposals when I'm pretty dang sure they're gonna sign. So 90% once the deal's in proposal sent. So I save that. And now I have an updated pipeline. Okay. So now I have those 4 stages that I can work with. Okay. I'm going to, okay. So now I'm going to talk about, I'm going to maybe switch things up because of the questions that have been asked so far, but I'm going to not, we'll see how it goes. So there are kind of 3 levels of data in Pipedrive. There are organizations, so like companies that you're selling to. There are people, so like the actual person that's going to sign your contract, you're going to maybe work with or, you know, do the program with. And then there are deals, and that's your specific sales opportunity. So for instance, if I click here and want to add a new deal, the first thing it says is who's the person, who's the contact person. So I could do, you know, example person, then it's going to name my deal by default. I can, again, assign a value. So you get maybe an email from someone. And then I can put in this person information if I want, save it. Okay, so now I have a deal here. So here's this deal. If I open it up here, it's connected to that example person that I created. And then organization would be here if I added one. Okay, so let me talk through kind of the structure of that. So organization, again, who you're selling to, kind of at the company level. Person, the individual you're selling to, right? They have like an email and a phone number. And then the deal is the specific sales opportunity. So super importantly, you may have multiple deals for the same person, and maybe even more for the same organization. Like a specific example could be you're selling a diversity and inclusion course to Liz at Microsoft. And then maybe 3 months later, you start selling a leadership and development course to Liz at Microsoft. The courses would be 2 different deals, right? Like maybe they buy the diversity and inclusion course, and maybe they don't buy the leadership and development course. That's okay. You represent them as 2 different deals. One gets won, W-O-N, and one is lost. That's fine. And so you can create deals kind of over time for the same person, and even more potentially for the same organization. There may be multiple people you're working with at the same organization. A really common question here is, do I have to use organization? And the answer is absolutely not. So if you are a business to consumer B2C company, you're selling, you know, directly to, I don't know, like a homeowner, you have a home services business, you're not going to have an organization. Like there's no business associated with that contact. It's just the individual. So then you only need to use people and deal. And that's why when I come here, it doesn't by default make me put in an organization, but it does make me put in a person because there has to be someone we're selling to. Okay.
Liz, do you think you could expand your screen? Because it's kind of small for.
Yeah, absolutely. Do I need to zoom?
No, just like maximize your screen. There we go.
Better?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so next I want to go into couple of customizations. Okay, so up here is kind of all of your backend settings. So if you go to company settings, there's a lot you can do back here, but I'm going to just go to data fields first, and then email preferences. So for data fields, again, you have organizations, people, and deals. For all of those pieces of data, you can store whatever information you want. So you fully customize what information you want to be able to capture about the person, about the deal, so on and so forth. So to add a field, come up to the top right, click I'll do a deal field. And let's say I want to create that course type, right? So diversity, inclusion, leadership, and development. So I could name this field course type. And then I select what type of field I want it to be. I'm going to select single option, and I'll do diversity and inclusion, and then I'll do leadership and development. Okay, so I have 2 different courses here selected, and I could save this, and then that will be a detail field that I can add on all of my deals. So then when it comes time to do reporting, I can see things like, wow, last year I tried to sell 10 diversity and inclusion courses and I only sold 2, but I actually sold 8 out of the 10 leadership and development courses I tried to sell. Like, that's great. I probably need to double down on my leadership and development courses. So this is just an example. I'll save this so we can see it somewhere else. Before I do though, the field type that you select is really important. Text fields are kind of the worst type you can pick because you can't do any reporting off of them. You can always export the data so you can look at it, in an Excel view and sift through it. Works when you have 30 leads, but when you have 300 or 3,000, like that's not a scalable way to look at your information. So whenever you can, using a single option, a multiple option, which means you could select more than one of the options that you program, numbers, money, dates, and addresses, times, all of those you can report on. So avoid text fields when you can. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this here. All right, so then email sync. This is one of my favorite features about Pipedrive. So I have it already programmed with my email connected here. The first time you come here, there will be a button that says connect your email.
Could you make that bigger? Like for those visually impaired like myself?
Yeah. Sorry, it's like huge on my screen. So I'm just going to zoom. Is this better?
Yes, okay. Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so you'll have a big button to connect your email. And then by default, these are most of the settings. These are the settings. I want to just, so you can keep them default. I want to highlight this, which is email tracking, open tracking, and link tracking. These are super helpful if you're emailing someone and you've emailed them 4 times, they were super engaged with you and they're not responding. You can see, are they getting your email and opening it? Or are they not getting your email at all? It's not getting open. Maybe it's ending up in spam. Maybe you need to call them. So I love that feature. Then in general over here, these 2 settings, I could talk about it for 30 minutes. It does depend on your business, which settings you should use. But I'll tell you the 2-minute synopsis, which is share all of my linked email conversations with others at the company. I like that because what it means is if I send an email to a prospect and then Rachel comes in 3 days later and needs to see what's happening about this sales opportunity, she can see my email and she can see a response if it's come in. So she can't see my inbox. She can't see messages I've sent to my mom or my accountant because those people don't exist in Pipedrive. But if the person exists in Pipedrive, other users of my Pipedrive account can see that email. So I like it to be shared. And then linking items manually or automatically. Automatically means if I send an email from my Gmail account, Pipedrive is going to try to see, does a person exist in Pipedrive with that email? And if it does, it'll connect it and say, cool, great, these are connected. If I do it manually, I either have to link it manually later in Pipedrive for my inbox or send the email from the person or from the deal directly in Pipedrive. So different reasons for each, but I like to do it shared and automatically. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out. back to our initial job form. I actually did a little bit of a trick. So I'm going to go to our business booster pipeline. So I pre-programmed the job form that you all submitted to be connected to Pipedrive and to be connected to this pipeline. So I said, when that job form is submitted, create an organization, a person, I submitted it today, an organization, a person, and a deal in this pipeline in my Pipedrive. So you all now have kind of a deal card represented here. And right now, again, we're looking at the pipeline view. We can also look at this information in a list view. So I'm going to switch here to the list view. And now we see it kind of more like in Excel. So here we can see what everyone knows about. So we have Zoho, HubSpot, Dubsado, no Pipedrive, which I love. Welcome. Rachel works with me. Asana, cool. That's actually, you can use it as a CRM, but more of a task management system. Lots of Calendly. Awesome. I love Calendly. Awesome. Cool. And then we've got some people who knows Zapier. No one who knows Make. Interesting. Cool. Y'all can check it out if you want. I don't use it either. Okay, so this is who we have here. So I now have a deal for each and every one of you. Yay. And I'm not going to do anything with this data. It's just for demo purposes, just so you all know. Getting to kind of the philosophy of Pipedrive. Pipedrive was a sales system designed by salespeople, and they came into it going, every sales process has a set specific kind of series of touch points that need to happen with a specific message at a specific time. And if those things can happen, we're going to win more business. And so they designed Pipedrive to be kind of focused around activities. So it's an activities-based sales system. You might see that somewhere in their marketing promotion materials. So when you log in, you end up on your pipeline view. And the pipeline view gives you kind of a overview of what's in your sales funnel. But where you'll actually find your work, where Pipedrive wants you to find your work, is your activities. So activities are, I'll zoom over here on the left-hand side, this little calendar. So I'm going to go to the activities here. And in addition to creating the organization person deal, when you guys submitted that job form, I also created an activity for each of you. And I actually created 2 activities. One is assigned to me. So here, sorry, I'm having to zoom all over. So one's assigned to me. And then I actually also had activities created assigned to Rachel. So this is work for Rachel to do tomorrow, which is this activity is to send a LinkedIn connection request, right? Common thing you may want to do when you get a new sales lead is connect with them elsewhere. But that's not something I have to do. That's something someone else on my team can do. So I programmed that activity to be assigned to them. So going back here. So this is where you can kind of control what you're looking at in activities view. So I'm going to look at activities due today, assigned to me. Okay. So here I have this Rachel activity. So again, Rachel's on the call. Rachel's great. Rachel's a Hair Hub member, and she is a freelance, get it all done type of person. She's been working with me since April and she's awesome. So if you need some help, you can reach out to her, but don't take all her time, please. So I'm going to open up the Rachel deal here in a new tab and show you that activity. All right. So over here we have, I'll kind of walk you through all the things on the deal. So I programmed that it's a $500 value to me. I added a label, which you can see kind of that is just a visual in the dashboard view. That's kind of nice in the pipeline view. Then I have all of the deal details over here. I have the organization, I have the person and person details over here. Then in the middle here, this is kind of where the work gets done. So I have planned activities, and then I have kind of everything that's been done down below. So as we do things, they'll drop down there. So this first activity, again, I fully customized this. I said, when I get a new lead, a new deal is created, I want an activity to send them my schedule a call template. Because for me, for my sales cycle, that's kind of the first thing I need to do is get on a call with this person. So I'm going to go to my email and I'm going to select this email template. So everything that's in yellow, this is kind of a basic example, but this is one of the detail fields from the left. So I have the first name, and then I also have the source kind of pre-populating into this email. It looks yellow right now. It doesn't look yellow when you send it. And then getting back to the email settings, this is like a weird finicky thing with Pipedrive. I have the email open tracking and email link tracking on the very first time, and only the very first time. But the very first time you send an email, you need to turn it on within the email, which is these two buttons here. So I've turned that on. I'm going to go ahead and click send, which is going to send that email off to Rachel. Then I have this, step 1 was to send it. Step 2 was to mark the activity as done. So I click this little circle. Yay, I'm done. Drops down to done. So again, I'll be able to see kind of the threading of an activity, an email, a note, so on and so forth. So maybe I don't make the sale today. In 6 months, I revisit it. I can go and see, oh yeah, okay, we were talking in March. It's not March. We were talking in November. So then on this email, if I click to expand here, so this little eye icon, that's where I can hover over and I can see when my email was opened. So again, this is a way to just understand, is someone ignoring you or is someone not getting your messages? Same thing with your links. So you can see, have they clicked your links? Had they clicked them 12 times and just not responded to you or not? All right. I knew this was going to happen. So you saw some other stuff just pop up. What just popped up? Well, I sent an invitation to Rachel to book a call with me. And this is a Calendly link. So I said, hey, can you book a call? And Rachel just booked that call. So if I go back to the pipeline view, and then I'll show you what happened. So she moved over to the scheduled stage. That deal got moved automatically. You also saw this one just came in. That's something Rachel was doing as well. So if I click here, so the deal got moved into this stage. This note got created. So this is everything she put in her booking form. And then everything else that a lot of you are familiar with Calendly, everything else that you program within Calendly, of it linking to your Google Calendar or whatever calendar system you use, getting email confirmations and sending them directly through Calendly if you want, all of that can still happen and can still be controlled through Calendly. This is just, again, like another layer to put your CRM integrated into it as well. So here I had another activity get created as well. So we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so this other deal, Susan Smith Consulting. The way I set up this automation through Calendly was find or create the person and the deal. So Rachel just submitted both of these, but for this one, she submitted this email address. And so Pipedrive went in, or Zapier, excuse me, went in and was like, does this exist? It did. And so it updated the deal, moved it to this stage, added the note. For this one, it said, does this email exist? No. Sorry, I'll zoom in. I'm watching Tamina. So for this one, it said, does this email exist? No, it doesn't. Okay, let me create a deal. And it just created the deal right away into this stage. And you see all of the detail fields are blank because I don't ask the same questions on the Jotform as Calendly, but I still get the note of everything that that person put into their Calendly booking form. Okay.
So did this person just submit something through Calendly directly?
Exactly. So imagine the use case of your website. Maybe you have a contact us form, which is someone can submit a form like you all submitted at the beginning here. That could create, you know, an opportunity in a specific stage. But then you maybe also have, hey, just book a call with me. If you want to like just cut to the chase, you can book a call. So you have two different sources, and they can both funnel into Pipedrive in different ways. But a really common thing, especially with native integration. So again, I'm talking about Zapier, which is that third-party integration tool. A common thing with native integrations is not having this like find or create function. So you get a lot of duplicates. So if you you can't do this natively with Calendly, but for Jotform, you can connect directly to Pipedrive, but there is no check if this already exists and only create it if it doesn't. So that's what's really nice about this is you can get smarter so that your system doesn't get bloated if you have multiple lead sources and that sort of thing. That makes sense? Somewhat. Okay, last little thing here. So I'm going to go back to that Rachel deal and try to open it. There we go. Okay, so we're going to fast forward and say, it's now time for me to have this call. I'm having this call and I have the instructions to add a note with the deal to the deal with the call details. So I'm going to say, here's my note. Here are the call details. I'm going to save it. Again, we get this nice threading. Then it says to update the deal stage and status as appropriate. So for me, that's, are we still in conversation? Great, move the deal to the follow-up stage. If not, like maybe it wasn't a good fit, I can mark the deal as lost, select a lost reason, which again, I can report on. I can also create automations on. And then mark this activity as done. So if I go ahead and move this deal to follow up, mark this activity as done, then I get another activity, okay? And this one, just for sake of demo, I did build in a different way. I know I'm not showing you all of that right now, but we may have time to get into it. This I built through workflow automations, which is a native integration or a native automation tool within Pipedrive. So that is back here. Workflow automations, like pros and cons, it's not another tool you have to pay for. It is a little bit, I think, less intuitive to set up, and it's less powerful and you have less visibility of if things work or don't work, why or why not. But it is another way to build things. So a key message hopefully today is there's lots of different ways to achieve the same automation. So if you are playing around with things and build something that works, great, go with it. So there's lots of different ways to achieve the same outcome, and it's a matter of kind of what is most intuitive for you. You just go with it. And then if you get to a point where you're kind of scaling bigger than you can get, then bring in an expert to help. Okay.
Sorry,
So
is a workflow automation like an alternative to Zapier?
yes. So this is, again, going back to kind of the marketing that tools will do, right? They'll say, you don't need this tool, you don't need that tool, it's an all-in-one, we can do it all. That's rarely the case. So Pipedrive will say, you don't need Zapier, you can use workflow automation, you can do it all in Pipedrive now. And the fact of the matter is you can do a lot you can't do everything. You can do far from everything. And so workflow automation is automation within Pipedrive. So there's no integration across other tools. So Jotform to Pipedrive, that doesn't work through workflow automation. Again, Jotform has kind of a similar type thing where you can integrate it with Pipedrive directly from Jotform. But as an example, you don't have that find this person in Pipedrive if they exist and move them. And if they don't exist, create them, right? So you'll get duplicates if you're just using those native integrations. So sometimes they work pretty well. Sometimes they work pretty poorly and they never work perfectly. So that's not that helpful probably, but you kind of just have to get into it to know for sure. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left and we can, yes, Roni, you have a question?
Hi, yeah, kind of like to Mina's point. So I
Mhm.
like trying to figure it out how it all fits in. So, you know, I'm growing. I like a lot of pipelines. So right now I'm using like MailChimp for my marketing campaigns. I use Asana and yeah, it's the poor man's CRM, I guess, you know.
No, it's that. I mean,
yeah.
there's you can do different views to make. I
Yeah.
mean, people use Airtable as a CRM, and it's like now it just is. Anyway, continue.
Or women's CRM, actually.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's so yeah, like I'm doing kind of those things, but it's like in the descriptions and as subtasks and whatever. But I could see, you know, it's fine when you're smaller, but if you're going to grow into the hundreds, the thousands, whatever, that's not going to be manageable at all. So the question is, though, I mean, I've heard of things like Dubsado, like you mentioned that, Honeybook. I use HelloSign. So right now, I mean, and I have a tech background, so I think, you know, there's pros and cons to putting all your eggs in one basket, I guess. And so it's like, kind of, how do you decide what tools? And in the chat, I kind of asked also, like, do the activities from Pipeline feed into Asana? Because my team uses Asana, right? Where,
So
yeah.
I'm gonna pause you for a
Okay,
moment.
so that's a lot, I know, but I'm trying
No,
to
if you're able to come to Feedback Friday, we
Okay.
can dive into this then. If you're not able to make it, I'll also, I think Rachel posted in the chat, you're all welcome to schedule a call with me. I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one. If you have questions like this, we either can't get to on Feedback Friday or if you can't make it. But it's a good question for then, because the answer is yes. And the specifics are, you know, could be a 20-minute conversation easily. So I'm going to ask you to hold it. Sorry. Any other quick questions or clarifying questions? I want to make sure that people don't leave here with small dangling pieces.
Liz, oh, hi, I'm Caitlin. I just wanted to ask, so I use QuickBooks to do all my estimates and invoices and all of that. And so I was doing a free trial with Method CRM, which is associated with it. So
with
that
QuickBooks, run away. I don't know anything about Method, but that's my initial reaction, but go ahead.
No, so I was just going to ask if you knew anything, because I started doing a little and I'm like, I don't really get this or anything. So I haven't done it the last couple of weeks. So I was just
okay.
If you knew
I'm Googling it. I see, I'm seeing just a little bit about it. You can explore it, but I say trust your gut. If you start exploring a tool and you're you know 1 day to 1 week in and you're like, this, I don't know, it should be somewhat intuitive, and Pipedrive may not be intuitive for people. Again, like that's fine. Don't use it if it doesn't like click in some way when you start exploring it. It's going to be a constant struggle for you. So make sure that like the look and feel of it work for you first and foremost, and then you can get into the like specifics of all the things you want it to do. You can also invert that if you want, and look at kind of what can it do functionally. But if it's not making sense out of the box, it's going to be a struggle the whole time.
Okay, and then just one more thing with Pipedrive. I assume then with like Zapier, I would be able to kind of connect QuickBooks Online and Pipedrive. Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. No one's jumping, so I'm going to ask a question of all of you. So this is kind of the choose your own adventure for the last 10 minutes. We'll see how much we can get through. Either I can back up and I can show you like how did I connect Jotform to Pipedrive. So we'll go into Zapier and I'll show you how you can build that, like the basics of, you know, here's how you create a new workflow. Or we can talk about contracting and PandaDoc software. And that's actually a native marketplace integration that you can use. So basically how from Pipedrive using PandaDoc, you can really quickly create contracts. So put in the chat, we'll do like a vote in the chat, either Zapier or PandaDoc. So Zapier is kind of showing you what we've demoed so far. And then PandaDoc is contracting software. Yes.
Can I just ask you a question? If
Yeah.
somebody were to work with you, but they don't use anything that you, like any of the products that you talked about, or not products, but like software
Tools. Yep.
Do you still work with tools? Thank you. Do you still work with them, or are you like, that's not my jam?
You should work with Tammy then, because Tammy's like, Tammy's amazing. And she works with way more tools. So all of my projects include Pipedrive. So Pipedrive is always the backbone. So if you're not using Pipedrive as your CRM, I won't work with you in kind of one of my larger engagements. So I'm happy to, I'm happy to, you know, chat with you and try to point you in the right direction. But Pipedrive, all of my projects include Pipedrive.
Thank you for answering that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was just curious. I was just curious.
Fine, totally fine. Yes, also Lucy. Okay, so Zapier, I see like 2 Zapiers.
3 Zaps.
3 Zaps. All right, we're doing it. Okay. All right. So I'm actually, for this very first one, which might be the only one we get through.
I'm just gonna pop some links in the chat. So if people need to drop off, they can, because we're almost to noon. So
sweet. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So these are 2 versions of the same automation. And I'm going to go back to Zapier here too. Can you, am I zoomed enough? Can you guys see this sufficiently? Say no if no. Okay, great. Okay, so creating a Zap from scratch. I've got a bunch of folders in here, but you come here, you click create Zap, and then remember triggers and actions, right? So trigger is when this happens. So you need to define that for yourself of what is the trigger, okay? I'm gonna pop over to these 2 to just show you. I wanted to not tie you to Jotform. So I love Jotform. It is free in most cases. You can have 5 forms, 100 submissions a month for free. And it is great from an automation perspective. However, I know a lot of people have Squarespace websites, and Squarespace has built-in forms that you can connect to Google Sheets. So you do that natively in Squarespace. So if you're using Squarespace, or if you have a form tool that you can get to a Google Sheets, then you can do your trigger as a new spreadsheet row in that Google Sheet. So you can usually get to that from almost any form tool. So if your form doesn't connect directly with Zapier, don't worry, see if you can get the form to communicate to a Google Sheet, and then your Google Sheet becomes the trigger, okay? So here, all the kind of things you have to do in setup. So I'm going to select Jotform as my tool. So my trigger is a Jotform submission comes in. So new submission is my event. Then I have to choose my account. So your first time you'll have to log in and authenticate your tools, but I'll choose my account here. Then choose your form. So I have a number of forms in here, but I'm going to do my automation fundamentals. That's the one we all submitted today. And then I'm going to test my trigger, and it's going to bring in the last few submissions. So again, when you're setting it up, I recommend submit your form and then do this test. That way you pull in real data. So you'll have like actually all of the fields completed and that sort of thing. So we'll use Gianna here as our example. Actually, we'll use, we use this one, Kimberly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click continue. So now I have the form was submitted. Next step is what's the action I want? Remember, we did organization, person, and deal. Those are all things we created. So in Pipedrive, I'm going to find an organization. This one, I wish it was named differently. All of the Pipedrive steps can act as find or create. So I'm going to select my account here. So what name do we want to search by? Without going into it, Pipedrive has IDs. Whenever you can use IDs, use IDs. We can't use IDs in this case. So we want to think about kind of the cleanest data that they may have submitted. For organization, it's just going to be the name. You have to, what happens here is you run into issues of like someone types my company as ops designed, someone types it as ops designed LLC. The search function is like, those are different. So things like that do happen and are annoying. So you always want to think about what is the strongest piece of data. So when we get to person, it'll be email, not their name. There's too many Liz Petersons in the world. So here for organization, we will search by name, and I'm going to put in the company that they submitted. So made to inspire. And here, this is where this becomes find or create. So I'm going to select the box that says, yes, create an organization if it doesn't exist. And then I'm going to add the information I want to be added to the org. So there's the name. Owner is who in my company owns it, myself or Rachel, being the two in there. But all I need is the name. That's the only thing that we did. So I'm going to click continue and then test the action. Cool. So it said here that this is, again, I said there's IDs. It said here we found one or we created one. It's organization ID 44. So I can come in here and go to my, if I wanted to check this work, go to my organizations. I can just click on any one. So the IDs go at the end. And yay. So I have this organization, it's the name. So that worked. So then I go to the person step. So I select Pipedrive. I'm going to find a person, which again is find or create. Select the account. So the field to search by, I want to search by email, way better than name. So I'm going to search by email. And I'm going to go here. Then I want to create a person if one doesn't already exist. And then for the person, I'm going to put in their name, their email. I can also like type to get smaller lists. And then I'm going to continue and test the action. Cool. So I could check, right? If that's right, I'm going to assume it's right. And then finally, this one. So in this case, I'm going to always create the deal. If that job form got submitted, I don't care if they already exist in my CRM somewhere. Like if I've previously sold other things to them, if they completed that job form, like they're a new deal. So you have to think about things like this. And I'm making the decision. I don't want to find a deal if it exists for the job form. I want to do that for Calendly, but not for the job form. So I'm going to just create a deal. So I'm going to do Pipedrive. And this will be the last thing we get to do, everyone. So event is going to be create a deal. Select the account. And then I have all of the deal detail fields, which is many more than the other fields, just based on how I set it up. So for the title, I like to do these in a standard way, right? So name, then that line, and then the company name. So I'm going to do name, space, line, space. So you can add kind of text and fields into these. And then I'm going to do the company. I can skip these, the stage. So this is where do I want it to go into my pipeline? So I want this in my business boost. Oops, wrong one. Too many new deals. I want it in my business booster new deal. And I want to connect it to the person. So this is, and I didn't do this in the person step, I should have. So this is where I can get Kimberly, the person, connected to the deal. So I do this by pulling the ID. So here I have the ID from step 3. So I select that. Then values I hard coded. So we can do this one as 1,000 just to show you a different example. Then we can do scheduling tools. Okay. And so on and so forth. So adding all of those fields. So now I'm going to continue, test that action. I know we're at time, so I will be done in a second. And if you have to run, thank you for coming. Okay, so now this is deal 117. So if I go back here, we're actually going to see, we should see this deal. Yay. So here we have this deal 117. You see just the Calendly's in because that's all I had programmed. Then we have the person connected here, no organization because I missed that step in the Zap. And then this got created through another automation that's on and already running. But theoretically, I could do another step if I wanted here and say, create an activity, so on and so forth. I do generally recommend when you're getting started, build shorter Zaps rather than longer ones because it's easier to turn something off if it's not working the way you wanted versus if it's, you know, embedded in a 20-step Zap. But then you do hit a point where maybe you have 50 automations and it's actually harder to have so many different ones. So there's definitely a balance as you get more comfortable of starting to make them a little bit longer. But I saw Tammy's thumbs up. You don't want 30-step Zaps. It's way better to have those as 3 different automation flows, as long as you can trigger it kind of one after another if they are all interrelated. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all. I'm happy to stay on for a couple more minutes if people have quick questions. Otherwise, bring your questions to Feedback Friday. I'm happy to dive into any of these tools, or if you have other tools you have questions about, happy to try to explore it, and we'll see how well I can do in a pop quiz.
Hey, Liz, does Pipedrive have a free trial?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think Rachel dropped the links in. So
Yeah.
it's a 2-week free trial. Normally, if you do use, so the links that are in the presentation and in the chat, they're affiliate links. So I do get kickbacks if you guys ultimately become paying users of Jotform, PandaDoc, or Pipedrive. But you do get a month trial if you use that Pipedrive link. So it's a nice extension.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Liz.
Yeah.
Good one to
Thank you
rewatch.
all. Yeah, I know it was a crash course and super fast. So thank you guys.
All right.
Yay. All right.
Awesome. I think I'm host, so we'll transition over. I will
right.
stop the recording. Thank you so much.